Welcome back to the third episode of the Breeders' Cup Rundown Show. Another show means another month closer to the championships in Keeneland. We've had a very busy time of win and you're in races, so let's get straight to it. Today I'm at Highfield Stables, the home of trainer John Quinn and also a certain princess too. But more on that later, as we've got a very exciting show ahead, including a look back at Breeders' Cup yesteryear with a truly extraordinary story. But first up, the European win and your ins were dominant at York with 3 in 3 days. Let's take a look.
They are off and racing, and now between horses, Baaeed is picking up on the bridle under Jim Crowley.
And Baaeed gallops past Bishriff and goes on inside the final furlong. There's no question he loves the distance, and it's a perfect 10 for Baaeed in the Juddmonte. Wow, he's won by 6 lengths. Alpinista having to pull out a bit more. The Oaks winner Tuesday drawing alongside her on the inside. There's only a neck between her. Alpinista's having to be very brave here, and she is. She's got all the courage in the world and goes on to win the Yorkshire Oaks.
The Platinum Queen, joined by Highfield Princess, who puts her nose in front and begins to assert. Highfield Princess stretching away, scorching away, breathtaking. Highfield Princess won the non-form.
Well, York never fails to impress. It really is one of the best race meetings in the world, and a horse that really impressed us this year was Highfield Princess. I mean, personally, I think she should be named Highfield Queen after that performance in the Nunthorpe. Can she strike again at the Breeders' Cup Championships?
You don't win the Nunthorpe by 2.5 lengths.
Highfield Princess stretching away, scorching away, breathtaking.
It seems almost supernatural to have automatic entry for the Breeders' Cup. It's a bit like with dogs, you know how connected you are with your dog. She was about to go racing and she bit me on the arm, and I knew she was feeling good, I mean, so the connection is very similar as with dogs, I think. You are terribly connected, I think, if you own a horse and see it as well. Whereas I'm lucky, I see her every day, and out of my kitchen window. After she won the Maurice de Geest in Deauville, that's when we thought, oh yeah, come on, we can take on the French.
It took her 13 hours to get to Deauville, which is quite, and you know yourself, one thing that tires you is travelling. She's got a wonderful temperament, but she seemed to take the French race really well. And then what she did at York was phenomenal, really. We're really thinking, if all goes well, to run her in Ireland and then just go to America.
They were always very ambitious, the Breeders' Cup people, and they did see it even from the start as a national and then probably a world championship. I think they were always thinking of the Super Bowl. They'd seen what a sport could do. That was one of the things that was driving them to feel that they could create something which they have now done. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It is the World Championships, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be going with my horse. I've got 3 daughters and 3 grandchildren. 2 of them are girls, and they were all there. And they're, it's not even a question. Yes, they're coming, I'm afraid Keeneland's doomed to see this gang descend on them.
Well, that won't be the last we see of the Highfield Princess team. They will be out in full force at Keeneland in November. Let's go and have a look at what went on around the rest of the world, starting in France at Deauville with the Prix Jacques Le Marois.
1600 mètres de l'année, le prix du haras de Fresnay, le buffard Jacques Le Marois. Inspiral de mieux en mieux, Erevan est lancé maintenant par Christophe Soumillon, Light Infantry qui réagit maintenant à 100 mètres du but. Inspiral avec Erevan, accompagné par Light Infantry qui maintenant est de plus en plus fort à l'intérieur. C'est Inspiral qui va triompher.
And they're moving for the 8th pole. Down on the inside, it is Happy Saver trying to get to Life is Good. Life is Good now moves down to the inside. Happy Saver had a view there. And then it is Hot Rod Charlie. And they're coming for the finish. It is Life is Good still in front. Life is Good is the winner by 2 lengths.
Laurel River slipped through. Suddenly Speaker's Corner can find no more, and Laurel River in full flight for the wire. American Theorem chasing gamely, but no match today for Laurel River. Laurel River very impressive.
Gufo is putting in a late run. On the outside is Soldier Rising. Here comes Gufo up to challenge Mirror Mission for the lead, and Gufo has got it. Gufo by a half length. Mirror Mission was second. They're at the 16th pole. It is Goodnight Olive by 3 lengths. Caramel Swirl in second. Goodnight Olive wins the Grade 1 Ballerina.
And take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again. Flightline, 20 lengths clear. Flavion Pratt takes a hold and canters in the TVG Pacific Classic. Lieutenant Dan now strikes the front, coming with a late run as Lane Way. Down the centre of the track, here's Cotard with a nice run too, but Lieutenant Dan too good. Lieutenant Dan won it.
Well, with Inspiral stamping her place in the FanDuel Mile, what a lineup we now have for that. Very exciting. I want to take you back to 1990 and the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and one of the alumni, Dayjur, had the most extraordinary race. Have you ever heard of the saying, being scared of your own shadow? Let's take a look what happened.
And I'd never remember going through such a roller coaster of emotions in one day.
Welcome back to Belmont Park. As you can see, they're on the track. 14 gold for $1 million in the sprint.
Dayjur obviously was probably the fastest and best sprinter I've been lucky enough to see in my time. From our point of view, it was massively exciting, the whole lead up to the race. We were in New York for about 4 days maybe before, and Willie Carson was winding everybody up about what a good horse this was and how he was going to come and beat the Americans.
His jockey, Willie Carson, is a pilot. He knows a jet when he sees one. He says this is the world's fastest horse.
Trying to do something that at that stage had never been done, to go and take on the Americans in their own backyard with a European sprinter who traditionally were always slower out of the gates than the Americans. They tend to wind their horses up more, so they pinged out of the gates when they hear the bell.
The one thing I did notice was most of the American riders really geared up their horses, whereas Willie Carson just came by me and he said his horse is nice and relaxed, he's acting real good, and he likes his chances.
But now we're ready for a start for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And they're off.
And Willie had to pump him along most of the way from memory, and yet he was still going strong on the bend, looked to be the winner, took over, had, in my opinion, had the filly beaten on the inside.
On the outside, Dayjur, and neither giving way. A dramatic confrontation here as they come down to the final 16.
And then this extraordinary thing of jumping the shadow.
And it is Dayjur who forges to the front, safely kept coming back at him, and Dayjur took a bad step 10 feet from the wire.
Which wasn't there a quarter of an hour earlier, and it wasn't there a quarter of an hour later. It just happened to be there at that moment, and he somehow, at full stretch under maximum pressure, he managed to spot it and flew it, and then just when he was half getting himself back together, he did it again.
Dayjur on the outside. Look at him jump that shadow. He jumps the shadow, and that costs him the victory.
I had the race won, and of course I was going away the last 100 yards, and he jumped.
Had that ever happened to him before at any point in his career?
Actually, the last time he ran, he lost concentration. He won so easy, and he jumped the shadow at Longchamp. He's the best horse.
Tough luck, Willie.
Yeah, it's tough luck. We don't get the money. We've got the best horse.
I'm glad he jumped it today anyway. All right.
You could only be proud of what he'd done and the way he'd run, and yeah, even I can remember that. That will live with me forever.
Well, let's bring you up to date on all the action in the last month and who has stamped their ticket to Keeneland.
This month, in the Breeders' Cup Classic, we have added Life is Good, Baaeed, Flightline and Olympiad. In the Breeders' Cup Turf, we have Gufo and Gold Phoenix. In the FanDuel Mile, we have Casa Creed and Inspiral. In the Maker's Mark Filly and Mare Turf, we have added Delica, Alpinista and Virginia Joy. In the Turf Sprint, we have Highfield Princess and Lieutenant Dan. In the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile, we have added Laurel River.
In the Distaff, we have Blue Stripe. In the Filly and Mares Sprint, Goodnight Olive. Well, that's it for this month. Upcoming in September, we have Win and You're In races in Ireland and the US. So make sure you come back for our monthly catch-up. It's just 2 months until we jet off to Keeneland, so set your watches, check your flights. I mean, is it too early to start packing? See you soon. Goodbye.